The Drake Passage is one of the most fearsome stretches of water on Earth, feared by even the most experienced sailors and explorers. Regardless of the season or the precautions taken, crossing this treacherous waterway is never without risk. Here, the seas can produce colossal waves, sometimes towering as high as the iconic Hollywood sign. This dangerous crossing links the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans and lies between Cape Horn, the southernmost tip of South America, and the South Shetland Islands of Antarctica. Stretching over a distance roughly equivalent to the span between London and Berlin, the passage can take up to 48 hours to traverse. Sailors who've successfully navigated its waters compare the experience to the challenge of landing on the moon. It is that perilous. Sir Francis Drake, after whom the passage is named, himself avoided these waters. Despite his extensive voyages and reputation as a skilled mariner, Drake recognized the dangers and chose instead to sail the safer but much longer Strait of Magellan. Even today, the Drake Passage is infamous for its hazardous conditions, with a tragic history of loss. Throughout maritime history, around 20,000 sailors have perished attempting to cross it, and over 8,800 ships have met their demise in these turbulent waters. However, despite its dangerous reputation, the passage remains a key route for tourists heading to Antarctica. Yet, the crossing continues to be referred to as one of the world's most terrifying oceanic journeys. It's important to note that the Antarctic Peninsula, the area where most travelers venture, is not actually part of the Antarctic mainland. Instead, this peninsula juts out towards South America, almost like two fingers reaching out across the sea. This geographical setup creates the Drake Passage's unique challenges, as the narrowing of the water between these two landmasses results in strong and volatile ocean currents. The Drake Passage is part of the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, the largest and most powerful ocean current on the planet. This vast current surges through the passage at speeds of 95 to 150 million cubic meters of water per second, amplifying the already hazardous conditions. But the currents are not the only concern. The winds that sweep across the Drake Passage are notorious. Blowing predominantly from west to east, these winds are unhindered by land in this part of the world, allowing them to build in strength as they circle the globe. This phenomenon is largely responsible for the turbulent seas that define the passage. Between 40 and 60 degrees latitude, the winds are so fierce that they've earned colorful nicknames: the Roaring Forties, the Furious 50s, and the Screaming 60s. In most places, land masses act as natural barriers that slow down storm systems and winds, but in the latitude of the Drake Passage, there is no land to interrupt these powerful air currents. As a result, the winds continue to accelerate, creating enormous waves that regularly reach heights of 13 to 16 feet, much taller than the waves typically seen in the Atlantic Ocean. The Drake Passage's perilous nature doesn't end on the surface. Beneath the water lies a series of underwater mountains that create further hazards for ships. As the vast ocean current squeezes through the narrow confines of the passage, it crashes into these submerged peaks, creating a unique phenomenon known as internal waves. These waves churn the deep ocean waters, bringing frigid, cold water up to the surface. This means that the Drake Passage is rough and unpredictable not just on the surface but all the way down to the ocean floor. The first person to successfully navigate the waters around Cape Horn and through the Drake Passage was Dutch navigator Willem Schouten in 1616. But arguably the most famous and harrowing attempt to cross the passage was made by Sir Ernest Shackleton during his ill-fated Antarctic expedition. In 1914, Shackleton and his 27-man crew set sail aboard the ship Endurance, aiming to reach the Antarctic mainland. However, by January 1915, the ship became trapped in the pack ice. After months of being stranded, the crew watched helplessly as their ship slowly sank beneath the ice in October. Forced to camp on floating ice for 2 months, Shackleton eventually decided to take action. He and 5 men set off on a daring 15-day journey across the Drake Passage in nothing but a lifeboat, aiming to reach the safety of South Georgia Island and organize a rescue. Battling hurricane-force winds and freezing temperatures, Shackleton miraculously succeeded in reaching South Georgia, and the entire crew of the Endurance was eventually saved. The wreck of the Endurance, however, remained lost until 2022, when it was finally discovered 10,000 feet beneath the surface of the ocean. Even in modern times, the Drake Passage remains a formidable challenge for adventurers. In December 2019, 6 fearless athletes made history by becoming the first people to row across the Drake Passage. It took them 12 days of non-stop rowing, with each rower working in 90-minute rotations. The journey was grueling, with waves pounding the small boat and cold, wet conditions making every moment a test of endurance. The athletes described the experience as being constantly hit by walls of water, with no relief from the harsh conditions. The weather in the Drake Passage is highly unpredictable, with conditions changing rapidly. Ship captains must always remain vigilant, adjusting departure times and plotting their courses carefully to avoid the worst weather. While the passage is sometimes calm, referred to as Drake Lake, it is far more common for travelers to experience the Drake Shake, where the passage lives up to its reputation with rough, jarring seas. Experienced captains report that the calm Drake Lake conditions occur in about 1 out of every 10 crossings, while the Drake Shake is encountered 1 or 2 times in the same period. Modern ships, equipped with advanced stabilizing systems and sturdy hulls, have made crossing the Drake Passage much safer than in the past. Cruise liners that regularly make the journey are designed to withstand the powerful waves and winds that characterize the passage. However, for those prone to seasickness, it remains a challenging and sometimes uncomfortable journey. For those who prefer to avoid the dangers of the Drake Passage but still wish to travel from the Pacific to the Atlantic Ocean by water, the Panama Canal offers a safer alternative. The concept of creating a canal across the Isthmus of Panama dates back to the 16th century, but it wasn't until the early 20th century that the canal was finally completed. The Panama Canal stretches for 50 miles and dramatically reduces the travel distance for ships moving between New York and San Francisco by nearly 8,000 miles. Despite the massive challenges faced during its construction, including treacherous terrain, dangerous diseases like malaria, and frequent flooding, the canal was successfully completed in 1914. Today, it is one of the most important waterways in the world, with over 14,000 ships passing through annually, and generating significant toll revenue. Another waterway that presents its own unique set of challenges is the Amazon River. Flowing through South America and stretching over 4,300 miles, the Amazon River basin is home to over 30 million people. Despite its length and significance, there isn't a single bridge that crosses the river. The reason for this is the river's geography, which includes vast marshlands and unstable soil that makes bridge construction nearly impossible. Additionally, the Amazon's water levels fluctuate dramatically between the dry and wet seasons, with the river swelling to nearly 30 meters wide during the rainy season. Engineers would need to design a highly specialized and costly project to build a bridge across the Amazon, but for now, the river remains bridgeless. For more fascinating stories about Earth's most dangerous and intriguing waterways, stay tuned to Waves Discovery.